many stories of pastors that retired from churches and then stayed at the church. The new pastor came in and the old pastor didn't want to release the authority that he had for years and could just make the new pastor's life miserable. Whenever I became a new pastor, I moved to a church in Rock Hill, and just wonderful and gracious people. And the pastor that had been there for 23 years, he told me, he said, if you think it would be better for me to go to a different church, I could certainly do that. And I'd known him for years. I said, that's not at all necessary. You know, I'd love to have you here. We had a great relationship, and a lot of it had to do with him. Whenever someone would come to him and say, would you dedicate our baby? He would say, I would certainly be happy to do that, but could the new pastor help me? If someone wanted him to preach the funeral, he would do the same thing. He said, is it okay if I get the new pastor to help me? And everything they would ask him to do as the old pastor, he would ask them if I could help. His attitude and his graciousness during that period of time was just a wonderful thing. I've often thought of it, and I hope that when I get to that place, that I would be able to have the same type of attitude and the same type of gracious behavior. Well, my name is Richard Coleman. I'm the pastor at Shepherd Church of the Nazarene in Lexington, South Carolina, and it's great to spend just a few moments with you today. I've been looking in the Old Testament, and I do enjoy the Old Testament. I enjoy reading about other people's lives and experiences. It helps me in my decision making. When I look at the story of Joseph, oftentimes in Bible stories, we think of Joseph with the Joseph and the coat of many colors, where his dad gave him a beautiful coat that made him special. His other brothers didn't get that. And anyway, all of that goes together to cause his brothers to get so upset with him that they sell him into slavery. His dad thinks he's dead, and he's been sold into slavery. And so he's in Egypt, and he is sold to the captain of the guard, the Egyptian captain of the guard. And so that man's name is Potiphar. And so Potiphar places Joseph into his service as a worker in his house. And Joseph does such a great job that Potiphar eventually puts Joseph in charge of his entire house. I can't help but think about what I would do if I were in Joseph's situation. Realizing that my brothers had betrayed me, I could see where I could just have a negative outlook on life. Then going from a wealthy family into slavery, where I'm just having to do everybody else's dirty laundry and so forth and so on, I could see where I could have a bad attitude with that. And how one could move into this new position or job that Joseph found himself in and just hate every minute of it and just have a bad attitude every day. So I look at where Joseph is, and I recognize that in the Bible, matter of fact, I think the words that they use, it said, Potiphar gave Joseph complete responsibility of his house. Now there's something that I've learned through the years, and that is along with the word responsibility comes hard work. If you're responsible for something and if you do a good job at it, there's a lot of work involved in that. And it also has so much to do with the attitude in which we do that work. As Christians, God wants us to have a good attitude. Now, there's going to be times in our life when we're upset. There's going to be times in our life when we're disappointed. There's going to be times in our life when we didn't get enough sleep and we're grumpy. I understand all of that. But all in all, our basic attitude of life and where we are and where God has allowed us to be, We need to understand that God can work in our lives no matter where we are and no matter what is going on. But it is so important for us to have the proper attitude. And I admire Joseph in this story with all that he's gone through. And now he's in a slave's position and he has a good attitude and he's a hard worker. That impresses me. So what's your attitude? What are you going through? And let's just do a double check today to make sure that we have the type of attitude that would be pleasing to God. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. May you truly have the attitude this week that God would be proud of. Thanks for taking the time and viewing today.